Hare Krishna, everyone. We have been talking in our classes about leaving the body. We got slightly diverted. We were talking about, somehow we got transitioned into talking about offenses to devotees. Excuse me, I'm going to plug in the microphone. And today, so we were talking about criticism and offenses, and today we're going to be talking about some stories. We're going to be reading some stories. This is going to be interesting. We've talked a lot about leaving the body, and we've talked about the glorious nature of leaving the body for a devotee, and how it's not as difficult as we may think. And so I was reading from the book Life's Final Exam, and there's stories in there of devotees leaving, and we also have a story that was sent to me personally. So I wanted to read some of those stories because those stories, they exemplify in real life what we've been discussing. So it's not just theory, because when you hear philosophy, you might think, well, it sounds good, but it's just a theory. But this is not just theory, because we can see it in the lives of devotees. I had been mentioning how Krishna conscious devotees had become at the time of their passing, and now we're going to actually get to see that. So I think this is going to be quite special. I think these stories are special, and especially now reading them after having over a month or 6 weeks of classes just on one topic. I don't know when we started, but at least 5 weeks we've been discussing this. So I think this is going to be quite interesting. I think it's going to be special. But first, Hare Krishna, all of you. We'll chant Jai Radha Madhava, and as we do every day, and then we'll I have an organ sound. There's no real harmonium sound here unless I get chapel, church, unless we get a that's pretty close. One of those. There's harmoniums that sound like this, right? Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Bijanna Vallabha Girivara Dhari Bijanna Vallabha Girivara Dhari Shodhananana Bhajajana Ranjana Shodhananana Bhajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Shodhanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Shodhanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Shodhanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Shodhanandana Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jiradha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jai Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jai Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. So just let me move this a little bit, because I have to sit. I have to move. And I still have access for sound effects, if needed, to wake you up in case you fall asleep during the class. We can wake you up. Yes. Or special sound effects if you want to tell a story. And on the last day of their lives, we're going to read stories about the last few days of two devotees' lives. It's amazing. So Rachel is inviting me to Israel. Why not? Or we can arrange classes on Zoom for Israel. Okay, I have to move over so you can see Prabhupada. I'm just trying, my job is to help you see Prabhupada, not stand in front of him. So we have to, we also have to make sure. Physically, I'm not in front of him. So we had sent a document to our translators and also to Kamaniya. Kamaniya, are you here today? I don't know if she's here. And if she's not here, then I sent the document to Anuradha. And I sent the document to... I don't actually know if you need the document. Anyway. Kamaniya, yes. Let's do that first quote. Just now, the first quote. Or maybe you have the whole document there. Okay. This is we're going to start with a letter. Or I'm not sure if this is a letter or from a lecture. And this kind of this will segue us into what these stories tell us. So this is from Srila Prabhupada. If you love Krishna more than anything else, then naturally you will think of him even if you are not in a position to pronounce his name. And when Prabhupada says if you love Krishna more than anything else, he means if Krishna has become more a part of your life. Because you're thinking, well, I don't have prema. But Prabhupada's meaning if Krishna has become more a part of your life more than anything else. Something like that. If you love Krishna more than anything else, then naturally you will think of him even if you are not in a position to pronounce his name. Prabhupada's talking about the time of death. You'll naturally think of Krishna if this is what your life is dedicated to, if this is where your ultimate affection is. You'll naturally pronounce, if you're not in a position to pronounce his name, you'll think of him and then you will go to him. So that someone may worry, well, what if I can't chant at the time of death? But Prabhupada's saying, if you're giving your life to Krishna, obviously, what else are you going to think of at the time of death? You're a devotee, so you know how to detach. And death is the ultimate detachment. And so we're practicing detachment our entire life. So naturally, that's what we're going to think about, right? It makes sense. So that gives us confidence. Just like when there's danger, we think, Krishna, save me. It's just natural. So Prabhupada's saying that even if you can't chant, that would naturally happen. That is perfection. At the time of death, one's bodily functions may stop, and it will be hard to utter Hare Krishna. But Krishna helps. So, this is actually Giriraj Swami. I think it's a class, and he was quoting Prabhupada. And he said, one disciple asked Prabhupada, I'm so busy serving you. Serving Prabhupada means serving Krishna through Prabhupada. And the devotee is asking, what if I'm busy doing service and I happen to die? Then what will happen? And Srila Prabhupada replied, you need not worry, because Lord Chaitanya, Radha, and Krishna combined will forcibly enter your mind at the time of death. Hare Krishna. So that's encouraging. And we've been, this has been one of the main themes of this class or this series. You practice thinking of Krishna in this life, it becomes natural. Think of Krishna at the time of death. So Prabhupada's confirming that. And we had also mentioned if you forget Krishna, Krishna will remember you. Prabhupada's confirming that here. And here, which is interesting, he says forcibly, Krishna will forcibly enter your mind. Like, he'll get it, he'll get in there somehow or other, yeah. Forcibly. Don't come, you're thinking of Maya, Krishna, no, you're my devotee. I'm going to get in. I will get in somehow or other. Even if you lock the gate, I will get in. That's what Prabhupada's saying. So even if the gates are locked and you only want to let Maya in, Krishna will sneak in because you're a devotee. And it's Kali Yuga, in case you haven't noticed, and things are not easy in Kali Yuga, and Krishna knows that, and Mahaprabhu has come to save us. So, the rules have changed a lot, and you have to adjust for Kali Yuga. So he made a lot of adjustments. And so we're okay. You just Prabhupada said many times, you dedicate your life to Krishna, and he'll take care of you at the time of death. And in reading these stories, sometimes you read how painful it is at the time of death. And then when I hear these stories, of course, and when you hear these stories, first thought is, I hope that doesn't happen to me, because I don't like pain, or if I'm in pain, I won't think of Krishna. But I had another thought on the pain, and at least one thought is if a devotee needs to detach, pain is an excellent way to detach, because in these painful moments in the last days of one's life, you'll see with when you read stories of devotees leaving, often it's like, I just want to leave, I just want to go. I'm vegetating here, it's a painful situation, I just want to go to Krishna. So pain can do that. It can bring total detachment. And you might say, I'm so attached. And when the body's breaking down and there's pain, that if there's ever a time to be detached, or if there ever is a time when we would want to be detached, obviously that's the time to be detached. I remember once being so sick in India that it was almost intolerable. The headaches were so painful, and I think I had fever and dizziness and nausea or whatever. And I told myself, I said, if it gets, I'm at the threshold of what I can tolerate. If it gets any worse than this, I would just like to die. So I have that personal experience. When pain gets to a certain threshold, it would be a relief to leave the body, to get out of the body, because the body becomes the cause of suffering. But in a healthy state, the body's the cause of enjoyment, which is why we don't want to leave it, because we think if I leave my body, I'm losing my enjoyment, isn't it? No more enjoyment. But when there's no more enjoyment left in the body and there's only pain, then naturally one thinks, get me out of here. I don't want to stay in the body. So I think sometimes Krishna may do that if needed, just to detach us, if we need that detachment. It's like there's, the body is broken down, there's pain, I can't do anything, and yeah. So that's another thing Krishna will do to help us. So, as I was saying, it's Kali Yuga, Mahaprabhu has changed the rules. Then Prabhupada you can even say extended, even marginalized the rules, even, what's the word I'm looking for? The rules have been changed liberally, and then Prabhupada even comes in and adjusts even further for our benefit. So, and also, Prabhupada has indicated that you could tell from Prabhupada's books and from Prabhupada's classes that really his mission was to get us out of here, and our mission was to go along with his program to get us out of here. And so he would do whatever he could to get us out of here, and he wanted us to do whatever we could to get out of here. So Prabhupada's gonna, I was looking at bend the rules, like make some agreement with Krishna. Can we bend the rules a little bit? Because this devotee, they did so much service for you, and although they had struggles and conditioning and so forth, can we bend the rules a little bit based on the service? So it seems from many, many things Prabhupada said that that's how it works. So you dedicate yourself. Just dedicate yourself despite whatever anarthas you have, whatever difficulties, whatever conditioning, and then Krishna will be there, the mercy will be there. And I think we had talked about this a little bit, but it's something Krishna appreciates, that when you go on, even though you have all this conditioning, Krishna knows our conditioning, so he knows how hard it is sometimes for us to go on. Because the mind is banging away, the heart is banging away. But still, if you go on, if you continue, Krishna appreciates that. And from your angle, you think, I'm such a unfortunate soul that even in spite of everything I've learned, everything I know, still, when I look at my heart, I find trash, basically, for lack of a better word. I find tons of trash. And that makes us think, like, I'm not really even a devotee. I'm kind of useless. And how could I be pleasing to my spiritual master, to Prabhupada? How can I be anything? But Krishna looks at it a different way. He looks at it that in spite of all that trash, you're still here. You got out of bed and you said, Hare Krishna, this morning, and you thought of me rather than thinking of something else. So that's what Krishna sees. And the rewards come from that steadiness, that determination, in spite of all difficulty. Now we're seeing like, I'm such a rascal, I'm so this, I'm so that, after so many years, or so many mantras, and so many rounds, and so many classes, and so many prikrams, I'm still attached. Yeah, that's true. But we're still here, and we're still trying. And that's what Krishna sees. And that's and if you know that, then you know, say, I can please Krishna. Even in spite of all these other things, I can please Krishna because I got up this morning and I said, Hare Krishna, today's another day that I'm going to go forward in my devotional service. However imperfect it may be, however imperfect I may be, I'm going to continue. So if you do that, then Prabhupada's saying, okay, this is so nice. Krishna, let's read that last sentence again. Last few sentences. The devotee's asking Prabhupada, what if I'm busy doing service and I happen to die? Then what will happen? In other words, the implication here is the devotee's thinking, in the middle of doing service, I'm not Krishna conscious. It's not like I'm preparing to die and they're reading Bhagavatam and there's Kirtan and everything's perfect. I just, I was just, going out to a store to buy some things for Krishna, and then I got in the store and had a heart attack, and that was it. So what happens to me? I was, I wasn't really meditating on Krishna. I was meditating on my shopping list. That's the implication here. What will happen? And Prabhupada replied, you need not worry because Lord Chaitanya, Radha, and Krishna combined, quote, will forcibly enter your mind at the time of death. Hare Krishna. So this is the faith that we have in Prabhupada's mercy. And Prabhupada, if you might say, you hear that and say, no, how could that be? How could that be for me? I don't deserve it. I'm not that Krishna conscious. But there's also another factor here, which if the pure devotee is pleased with you, then Krishna is the puppet in the hand of the pure devotee, and then the Prabhupada could ask Krishna, okay, look at this devotee, they did so much, they opened a temple for me, and they struggled, and they kept the temple going, and they worshipped you in the form of the deity, and they went out on Harinam. So if they're not so Krishna conscious, still, can you enter their mind when they die? Because, my mission is to take them back to Godhead, and they're going to need help. And so, we can say, so to speak, Krishna, Prabhupada cuts a deal with Krishna. Now, what can Krishna say if Prabhupada asks? He can't say no. Krishna can't say no to his pure devotees, so even if it's not meant to happen, normally Krishna will say, okay, normally it's not meant to happen, but I can show up at the time of death and I can appear in their minds when they die. Actually, I can force myself to get in, even if, there's so many things in the way. I've got to move this out. So Krishna's like moving out all these material desires, moving out all these attachments. Whatever we're thinking, Krishna's moving it out. I got in. I'm in. Okay, let's go. We're ready. We're ready now. And Krishna, he calls for the Mahaprabhu calls for the Navadvip Airlines, and he says, "Okay, I got in. We're ready. Let's go. I got a hold of him. Okay, we're all here. We're all good. Let's go." So it can be something like that. That's the faith we have in the power of Prabhupada's mercy. That, we may be whatever, but our faith is that we serve the pure devotee. Everything happens from serving the pure devotee. And if pure devotee's pleased, that's it. You're good. However bad you are, whatever bad you did, if you can please a pure devotee, Hare Krishna. Oh, it's just, it's perfect. It's a jai-worthy moment. Back to Godhead, back to home. If you can please a devotee. Your life becomes jai-worthy if you can please a devotee. If you can please Prabhupada, who's so dear to Krishna. That's it. It's everything. You couldn't ask for anything more than that. And Prabhupada has indicated so many times it's not like I have to do something huge to please him. What have I done? I haven't done it. I didn't even open a temple. I didn't even do this or that. I hardly distributed any books. But if you chant 16 rounds, you follow the 4 regulative principles, you read Prabhupada's books, you try to be sincere, you try to do some service, you please him. And that's it. Then you have his protection. That's the idea. Okay, so now we're going to read a story about a devotee I know. In fact, she joined the temple I was in charge of, so I know her from the early days. This must have been 1970, or early 71, or late 70. She's Canadian. She came to Vancouver with her husband, and the devotee telling the story I also know. And this devotee had come to San Diego in about 1972, I believe, who's now living in Los Angeles for the last 10 or more years. I lost touch with her, but when I was Sankirtan leader, she was a Sankirtan devotee, so we spent a lot of time working together, book distribution. So I know both of these devotees. So this is Kriya Shakti speaking, and the devotee's name is Komadaki, and she used to do type letters for Prabhupada. She was a secretary. She worked for the GBC in Los Angeles for many years, Rameshwar. And Kriya Shakti is relating her last days. I slept in her room and showered down the hall. One evening, after we bid each other good night, she said, "I need a priest." So I turned on a small light, went to her bedside and said, "Do you have something you need to talk about?" She said, "Yes, but I don't know if you're the right person." "I'm the only one here," I said. "But I don't know if you're the right person." I assured her, "Whatever you say to me it'll be kept in the strictest confidence. I'll never repeat anything." "Okay," she said. "Get a pen and paper." And for 2 hours, this is really interesting, she poured out her heart, things that she had held inside for so long about her life, her trials, and her tribulations. Interesting, isn't it? Stuff that she wouldn't tell anybody, she kept inside. You know, all the stuff that we're ashamed that the world would know, she kept it inside. This is so interesting. When she finished, she said, that was a lot of stuff. And we had this experience also with one of my godbrothers. He didn't know how long he had to live, but he knew it wasn't that long. And he was burdened by something. And he said it was the same thing. I have to let this out. I have to get it off my chest. I can't die with this burden. And when I was reading this, I was thinking, we should unburden now, which was sometimes we do that in some of my workshops, just like open up, get it out. Listen to what so that was my first takeaway. Don't wait, to a few days before you die to unburden yourself. But at least she did it, and this is what she said. And when she finished, she said, that was a lot of stuff. She had unburdened a lifetime of confessions, traumatic experiences, introspective thoughts, personal regrets for wrongs or things she wished she had done differently. I said, it's okay. Now it's finished. We'll do puja, purify the room, and start fresh. In other words, she got all this stuff out. Doesn't this make a good movie? Wouldn't it? Yeah, reenactments of devotees leaving their bodies. Wow. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? Like videos of, what actually happened. So we got all this stuff out, and so she said, okay, now we're going to purify that. We'll do puja, we'll purify the room because you got all this stuff out. That she was thinking that Komadaki was feeling like this was like a lot of dirt in the atmosphere. So then Kriya Shakti said, okay, we'll purify the room. So I washed the room and sprayed Radha Kund water and the Shringa oil. By then it was midnight and she had fallen asleep. Then I read Bhagavad Gita, just the English translations, from beginning to end, finishing at about 2:30 in the morning. Then I took rest. So purifying the room with Bhagavad Gita. I had read, oh my Krishna, my Govinda, I had read, I believe it must, I don't know the source of this, it may have been Shankaracharya. It said that if you read Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will come and take you back to Godhead. He said, actually, if you read one chapter, there's something I was reading yesterday. And it was like the glories of each chapter of the Gita, and then, you read this chapter, you go back to Godhead. And so, read this chapter, you go back to Godhead. Actually, just read one verse, you'll go back to Godhead. And then it said, actually, you just read one word and you'll go back to Godhead. It was just glorifying the Gita just for having contact with it, how it will liberate you. So we can see in Krishna consciousness, it's like everything we're doing is liberating us. It's taking us back to Krishna. It's just everything. Touching the Gita, seeing it, reciting a verse, reading it, what to speak of teaching it. The next night, after we turned the lights out, I said, good night, Komadaki. Hare Krishna. And she said, good night, Kriya Shakti. Hare Krishna. After a minute, she said, there's more. In other words, there's more I have to let go of. So I got up, and so, in other words, Kriya Shakti laid down, good night, good night. And then after a minute of laying there, Komadaki said, there's more. Okay. So I got up and sat by her bed, and again she poured out her heart. She said, I'd never told anyone these things. She spoke until she had no more to say, and then she told me, I think there is something to this confession. I feel so much better. She had revealed what she had kept inside for her whole life. She cleared her heart and felt relief. So when I read this statement, I think there is something to this confession. I was thinking two things. One is the confession she made. I think there's something that transpired or something powerful that happened as a result of this confession. So she's acknowledging that it was a powerful experience. But then I was thinking she could have meant there's something what did she say? Blah, blah, blah. There's something, she said, there's something, it's an American expression, something, there's something to this. There's like more to this than I thought or ever realized. And so I was thinking she could have been referring not to her confession, but confession in general. There's something to this confession. Because we get the picture here, this is something she never did, and now she's finally doing it, and she's realizing how powerful it is to open up and confess your dark secrets to someone, to get it off your chest, out of your heart into the ether, and just get relieved of the burden that it's creating. So we can take it in those two ways. And if we take it in the second way, the latter way, then it's like she's telling us we should all do this, because there's something to this confession. It's powerful, and we should all do this confession. We shouldn't hold things in. In fact, now don't take it with a grain of salt, but if we hold things in like this, that can be the cause of the cancer on an emotional level, then it affects us on a physical level. So that's also something to consider. And naturally, when you let this emotional toxicity go, you feel better, you feel lighter physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So this is a nice mantra. There's something to this confession. And I don't know, I just took it like she's saying there's something to this process of confession. Not to this specific confession, but in general, there's something to this process of confession. And even if that's not what she meant, it also can be taken in this way, because that's true. And what I see is meant by this, there's something to this. She's saying, there's something to this process of confession, meaning I've never done it before. And it's not something that your temple president recommends. Did your temple president ever called you up and say, Prabhu, Mataji, I just wanted to ask you, have you done any confession this week? We're checking on all the devotees in our community to see if they've done their weekly confession. Probably that's never happened in ISKCON, that anyone has asked you. Raise your hand, make a noise, do something, if any authority has ever asked you to do confession. Maybe you might say, I did. But you understand what I'm saying. It's not a practice that's commonly recommended. It's there in our Shastra, but it's not commonly recommended as part of our sadhana. But it's there in our Shastra. You can read about it in Nectar of Devotion, where a devotee goes to the deity and he reveals himself, and he tells the deity, I'm so ashamed to reveal the sins I've done, the thoughts in my mind. I'm just ashamed of what I'm holding, the envy in my heart, the shame I have for my failings. He tells the deity, he's explaining it to the deity, and he's saying, I'm so ashamed to tell you. So it is under a section. It's Prabhupada, the title I don't think is confession, but in the explanation the word confession is used. I forget the name of that. It escaped my mind. I think it's called submissiveness. I think it's under this section called submissiveness. And then the example is the devotees confessing. So I think we should take note of this, because this is not something that we do as regular part of our sadhana, but it's something, as we know, they do in the Catholic Church. And there was a man who studied Krishna consciousness. He had studied every religion. And you know what he said? He said, of all the religions, yours is the deepest philosophically. It's the most evolved. But the one thing that your religion is lacking is the process of confession. Because he practice. And therefore he said, that is really important that you don't do. So that's something to note from this. And she's saying there's something to this confession. She felt unburdened, and so why be burdened your whole life? Why not unburden now? She had revealed what she had kept inside for her whole life. She cleared her heart and felt relief. Kaumadaki's health was failing. There were times that she was not conscious all day. And other times at random moments when she would speak. And other times at random moments when she would speak. Sometimes she would suddenly start clapping her hands or hold them in a mudra position, prayer-like under her chin, even in her comatose condition. So she'd be lying comatose, and sometimes, so Kriya Shakti's watching this, obviously thinking, what's going on? She's like this, laying on the bed, and then she's like this. Like, what's happening here? So obviously something's happening. One time, when she had seemed unconscious, she opened her eyes and picked up her bead bag to chant. She said, "Who are all those devotees in the room? Is there a picnic? There's so many devotees here. How will they all fit? Where will they all fit? All I can see is faces, like a patchwork quilt. Please tell them to excuse me if I can't keep my eyes open." Now, was it the cowherd boys coming for lunch? But the nurses told me that it was not unusual for people in their last stage to have visions like this, to see the other side. That's really interesting, because this is the interpretation of the nurses, that you're seeing what's going to happen next. So obviously, if it's a hellish birth, then you're going to get some glimpse of it, and it's going to be frightening. And if it's Krishna, it's going to be very beautiful. There's a joke once. This comedian, he did a spoof, and he said, "Now you're all in hell," and he's saying, all the murderers go over here, all the rapists go here, and and all the thieves and liars and cheaters go here. And he said, "You lawyers, you go over here also with them," joke. So, yeah. So if you're a lawyer, then your next life is it's not going to be good. You'll have to go to that planet with the thieves and liars, right? So. So this is interesting. So who knows what she was seeing, but it appears that she was beginning to see where her destination was going to be. And when I was reading her story, and I think you might feel the same way, after I was reading it, it was almost like reading a travel brochure where, we were talking about this. You read about some beautiful place, palm trees and white beaches and aqua-colored water and perfect weather. You want to go. So I was reading about this. I was thinking, oh, this is, dying is like, this is like, oh, this is something to look forward to, because this is how we get to Krishna. It's not like, oh, I don't want to die. This is I'm gonna, I can't take my keyboard with me. Oh, I don't want to die. But you think, no. We're going to be picnicking with Krishna or dancing with Krishna. That's where we're going. And if Krishna is giving us that vision when we're leaving our body, then it's not going to be like, I don't want to go. It's going to be like, get me out of here ASAP. I want to, I'm being invited for lunch. And there's a story in here exactly like that. It's amazing. I don't know if we'll get to it today, but there's a story about Krishna sending an invitation to a devotee when he was leaving his body. Hare Krishna. Okay. So she's seeing a bunch of devotees in her room. Once during her last week, in a moment of clarity, Komadaki looked me straight in the eye as I bent over her and said, "We are guided, Kriya, divinely guided." So in other words, this was her realization, that like she, as far as I can understand, she's saying that she's like in this perfect state to deal with her leaving the body because she's getting guidance from Krishna. This is encouraging, isn't it? This is what I said. This is not text in a purport. This is the purport coming to life, the things that Prabhupada said, where you're thinking, I don't know, maybe not me, maybe not everybody, maybe special devotees. And here we're seeing, and she was a nice devotee, but not like outstanding in the sense that what's happening to her wouldn't happen to anyone else. We are guided, Kriya, divinely guided. Another time she said, I see trees. She had her eyes closed and was moving her hands like she was describing the scene. I see trees grouped in different colors. There are children, toddlers, all smiling. I asked, do you see Krishna with the children? She raised her head and opened her eyes and looked at me like I was stupid or crazy. Krishna is everywhere. Don't you know that? Krishna is everywhere. What a drama. Oh my God. Then she laid her head back down, closed her eyes again and said, He's in everything. I'm a little boy. I want to say I love you to the children, to the trees. I asked, are you one of the children? And she said, yes. So you can see what's happening in this this is not, she doesn't have much longer to live. You can see in this, there's a position at death when you start transitioning out of your body and you're leaving this plane. In this plane, it's like, it's not important anymore. You can't do anything, and you're starting, as the nurse says, to get indication of where you're going. Interesting, isn't it? Now, listen to what she says now. This is amazing, because this is all, it all fits in with this general conception that you're getting the preview of what's happening. Another time, like a small child, she said, I finally get to go to Krishna. I finally get to go to Krishna. Wow. Wouldn't this make this amazing drama? One afternoon, Komadaki seemed to be in an anxious state and was waving her arms in front of her, as if frantically searching for something. I want Krishna so much, she said. How can I get Krishna? This is like Lord Chaitanya. Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? In separation. I told her, chant Hare Krishna and you can get him. You can get to him. And she said, it's so subtle, Kriya. The material is subtle. What's between me and Krishna? Can you see anything? Can you see anything there? She had her eyes closed and was waving her hands to try and clear the way to Krishna. Can you see what's between me and Krishna? Can you see anything there? I guess she was either couldn't see it, but maybe feeling there was something blocking her. Can you see anything there, she asked. I only see Prabhupada between you and Krishna, I replied. He'll bring you to Krishna. Another time she was pleading. I want to go to Radha Kund. I want to go to Radha Kund. So I said, pleading. Okay, I want to go to Radha Kund. I want to go to Radha Kund. Pleading. I have to get more into this. So I said, okay, let's go right now. And then she had a vague realization of her present condition and asked, but how will I go? Will you wheel the hospital bed? I told her, no, I'll carry you. And she started to sing like a little girl. Time to go to Radha-kun, time to go to Radha-kun. Time to go to Radha-kun, time to go to Radha-kun. Time to go to Radha-kun, time to go to Radha-kun. What a drama. Oh my God. Hare Krishna. So we went on a visualized journey to Radha Kunda. Put your hands on the chains that lead to the water. go in to bathe. Feel the stone steps under your feet. Sprinkle some drops on your head. Feel the cold water as you enter the sacred kunda. Another time she called me to her side and said, I am so fortunate that you are here to show me the way of the absolute truth at the time of death. Fortunately, there are no material obstacles. This is what she said. It is my good fortune to be here, I replied. All glories to Prabhupada. So now we see her evolving from this scene of, there's something in the way, to somehow or other visualizing that they went to Radha Kund, and then somehow or other, like, no more obstacles, or by Krishna's mercy, not somehow or other, there's no more obstacles. It's like that's how she's feeling. Like we're not going so much back on her life, but usually for most devotees, when they're preparing, it's not as clear as it is now. So it seems like what's happening is there's an evolution going on within her, all these obstacles, and then she lets it go, and then then still after letting all these secrets go, she says, I feel there's something between me and Krishna, or can you see it? And then she's getting these visions of the other side. And now she's at this place where she's saying, everything is clear. So we're seeing here how Krishna is preparing his devotee in these last days, for this, like, what I call this massive, when you take a class, cramming, when you take a class, like it's supposed to be like 2 years and you do it in 3 months, what do they call that? There's a name for that. I'm forgetting. But it's like, lifetimes of purification being crammed into like a few days. This is the scene that I've heard about with practically every devotee that's left their body. This is massive purification happens rapidly, like lifetimes of purification happening at the end. So that should give us some confidence to not analyze ourselves in terms of where we're at now, in terms of what could happen when we leave our body. So this is a beautiful statement. Please pay attention if you're spacing out, doing something at home. Well, you should be listening to every word I say. So Kumaraki says, I always thought that Krishna consciousness was for everyone else, she said one day. When I asked, do you feel Krishna in your consciousness? She replied, yes. I always thought it was for everyone else. You remember a few days ago that story of Amaleka? Is that her name? Shruti Kirti's wife? What's her name? Amekala. And how she kind of had the similar realization, that like Krishna doesn't like me and this and that, and then Krishna was coming to her, Prabhupada was coming to her, or she felt she never served Prabhupada, and Prabhupada, I think it was Prabhupada was coming to her. So we're getting the same thing here. The thought, which I think is a common thought, that, I can never be Krishna conscious. There are some devotees who are Krishna conscious, but it's not me. Something like that. I could never be that Krishna conscious. It's for other people, the Maharajas, they're Krishna conscious, or some of my god sisters are Krishna conscious. But me, I do some service, but I'm pretty hopeless. I'm not very advanced. And now she's getting so much Krishna consciousness that's her realization. I thought this was for everybody else. I thought I couldn't do it. So this is very encouraging, because it again underscores the point that in these last moments, Krishna condenses spiritual advancement that could take lifetimes into a few weeks. It seems, doesn't it? You agree? That's what's happening here? Isn't it nice to kind of analyze step by step what's happening? And we kind of see this picture emerging, which more or less is describing everything we discussed in the last month. Yes, I always thought it was for everyone else, it meaning Krishna consciousness. I thought Krishna consciousness was for everyone else, which means I'm getting it now. I'm getting Krishna consciousness. Like, finally, I'm getting it. I never had so much of it. This is amazing. At the end of the day, she stretched her arm out as if to reach something far away and said, I always thought that Radha and Krishna were way up on the shelf, way high, and that I could never reach them. And she's giving an example here, which is a little unclear. We have to unpack. There was tall grass growing in front of them, and I could barely find my way there. I could never find my way to Radha and Krishna. But somebody has mowed the grass. It is all flat and clear. I can find my way now. There are no impediments. No, that's not difficult to understand. I didn't understand the first time I read. She's using analogy. Radha and Krishna, they're way up there, far. There's like big, tall grass in front of them I can't see. But now someone's mowed the grass and I can see them. Isn't that amazing? It's all flat and clear. I can find my way now. There are no impediments. I can see how to get to Radha and Krishna. Let me read this again. This is beautiful. I always thought that Radha and Krishna were way up on the shelf, way high, and that I could never reach them. It was out of my reach. It's just like I could never touch. There was tall grass growing in front of them. I could barely find my way there. So it's another analogy. They're covered by grass, or they're beyond my reach. But somebody has mowed the grass. It's all flat and clear, and I can find my way now. There are no impediments. Wow. She's at the last point of her life. Krishna has removed every impediment to remembering him. Hare Krishna. That should give you some confidence. Any of you who are thinking, I don't know if I can be Krishna conscious in this life. I don't know if I can make it at the time of death. This should give you tremendous confidence. Then, at around 11, Komadaki started to gurgle in her throat. It was very difficult for her to breathe. I asked the nurse to come, listen, and maybe administer a medication to dry up the fluid. But seeing that the difficulty was intermittent, she said, no, it is not quite advanced enough. Within 15 minutes, however, her breath became more labored. So the nurse said, okay, we can start. By noon, every breath brought a heavy, drowning, choking sound, the death rattle. At 1, the medication still hadn't had any effect, so the nurse administered another dose. At 2 o'clock, her condition was still the same. By 4 o'clock, there was still no change, and I was at my wit's end. Komadaki was the only one going through it all. But I was the one who was rattled. In other words, she was choking. And Kriya Shakti could see that Komadaki was suffering and painful. And Kriya Shakti is saying, Komadaki was going through this, but in a sense, I was going through something worse because I couldn't do it. I was helpless. And I couldn't stand to see her suffer. I was just so intense to see my friend. It was just so intense to see my friend suffer and not be able to do anything. I said, Krishna, what is this? Your devotee's suffering. Can't you help her? You say you'll save your devotee. You make this promise, but who's going to believe you? Who will believe you when your devotee still suffers? How much is enough? I was crying out to the point of pleading, almost angry with Krishna. Hare Krishna. What a movie this would be. What drama. She's complaining to Krishna. She's becoming angry with Krishna. How can you allow your devotee to suffer like this? Almost like saying, what's wrong with you? Why don't you do something? You can do something. Why don't you do something? I can't believe this. How's anybody going to believe you? Your promise you'll take care of devotees. Who's going to believe it? Look at your devotee. Then a wave of realization washed over me. I'm not in control of this. This has nothing to do with me. It's out of my hands. This is completely in Krishna's hand. This is in control. Krishna is in control and I am only a witness. So then Kriya Shakti, it's like Komadaki had already let go, but Kriya Shakti hadn't let go, and then Krishna gave Kriya Shakti the realization, just let go. This is out of both of our hands. And so listen to what she says after she lets go. It was such a relief that I stood up and started dancing around the room. So when she let this go, she's basically screaming at Krishna, how can you do this? And then she has the realization, I'm not in control. There's nothing, this has nothing to do with me. It's out of my hands. This is Krishna. This is the way he wants to do it. It's in his control. And then what does she do? She gets up and she starts dancing around the room. She has this realization and she's singing, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe. Like, she was like, this is perfect. It's Krishna's arrangement. He's doing everything. Everything that's happened is perfectly. There's nothing more we can do. Everything is perfect. And she was like glorifying Krishna, saying, yeah, you're Krishna. I thought you were doing the wrong thing, but now I realized you're doing the right thing. Hare Krishna. I was dancing around the room and singing. It was such a relief. It was so amazing. At 5 o'clock, I stepped halfway into the bathroom to take a phone call from Jagarini. I could still hear Komadaki's heavy, labored breathing, which had been going on for 5 hours. I've never seen that, so I can't really imitate it, but some choking in the throat, breathing, something like that. Then suddenly her breathing went quiet. I quickly hung up and rushed back into the room. When I got to Komadaki's side, she was breathing normally. I was amazed. I sat by her, and for the next half hour, her breathing was completely normal. Her head, which had been in a tense position, was relaxed on the pillow. Her eyes had tears in their corners, and then she opened them. And this is what she said. So Kriya Shakti says, there's a phrase in the Bhagavatam, quote, just as a dying man looks at a picture of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's all I could think of. Like she opened her eyes and it looked like she was seeing Krishna. And so this verse comes to Kriya Shakti's mind. This is all I can think of is this verse. Just like a dying man is looking at a picture of the Supreme Lord. Then I remembered a story I had heard of Yuga Dharma Prabhu's passing. I don't know if I would have had the presence of mind to do what I did if I hadn't heard this story. Devotees in Vrindavan had advised that a picture of Srila Prabhupada be placed right in front of his face. He was in a coma. But devotees said that it didn't matter, that he shouldn't hear or have his family, friends, or any other attachments before him, only Srila Prabhupada. And right before Yuga Dharma passed away, he opened one eye, looked at the picture of Srila Prabhupada, closed his eye, and left. Hare Krishna. Oh my God. This is transcendental arrangement by Krishna, isn't it? Like Krishna's in everyone's heart and he's directing this whole thing and everything happens. Okay, everybody get out, get out, get out, get out. He's in a coma. There's the picture of Prabhupada. He gets up, opens an eye, sees Prabhupada and dies. I mean, we're seeing how Krishna's making these amazing arrangements for his devotees to leave their bodies. And this should, hopefully, be building faith that we're in good hands. Like they say, you're in good hands with Allstate. Well, you're in good hands with Krishna. Better hands with Krishna. Right before Yuga Dharma passed away, he opened one eye, looked at the picture of Srila Prabhupada, closed his eye, and left. So I held a picture of Srila Prabhupada in front of Komadaki for her to see. She looked and beheld the smiling face of our dear Srila Prabhupada. Then she closed her eyes, took 4 short breaths, and left. Hare Krishna. What a glorious finishing. All the nurses came in to pay their respects. Komadaki had been so much loved by everyone there. There wasn't ever a time when someone did something for her that she didn't say thank you. Her medical care, pain medication, changing of bandages, she would always thank the nurses. At one point, there was a chaplain who would come in and pray with us. And after leaving one day, he commented to one of the nurses, "I don't usually leave a patient's room feeling like I'm the one that's been comforted, but I feel comforted. There's something very special going on there." 5 people were allowed to go into the crematorium. I put Komadaki's japa beads and some sacred flowers and articles into a small bag and placed it on her chest. Her cousin, the closest male relative, ignited the fire. Outside there was a food offering with bananas and rice balls in a pot, sacred waters and tulsi tied around with a red cloth. Vasudev Das, a friend of Komadaki's, put the pot on his head and tipped it back so that it fell to the ground and smashed with a loud sound like a cannon. Then he walked away without looking back. The significance is that the pot, the vehicle that was Komadaki's body, has been broken, her attachments finished. In case her soul was not satisfied or needed appeasement, there was some food and sacred water to take before its departure. Not looking back is also significant. Everything is finished now. We go forward. We don't look back. It is a very amazing experience to be with a devotee when he or she leaves. What Srila Prabhupada has given us is so amazing. As much as you give to the point of exhaustion, Srila Prabhupada always gives you more. I never felt alone when I was with Komadaki. I always felt that the devotees were there, just like when Komadaki said, "Why are all these devotees in the room? Why have they come?" And I always felt that Srila Prabhupada was present. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. What an amazing story. I had to read that. Okay, I want to see if you have any questions or comments, or you're all just like stunned. Okay, oh yeah, I must always, yeah, I kind of did assume you were there, but I didn't see you. Who wants to make a movie of this? Srikant's going to make a movie. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there are any comments because it's like, we just want to read. Dun, dun, dun. I just want to... Okay, so there's one other short story I want to read, and it's very similar to this, and I think now is a good time to read it. And I don't think we could read enough stories of devotees leaving their bodies, and I think it's just so faith-building. Isn't it? Yeah, we're all just like wrapped in attention. Okay, let's. This other one is short. It won't take long to read, but since we're in the mood, let's read it. We also have a story of someone who left her body and came back to tell us what happened. That's also important for us to understand. So this is the passing of our godbrother Nirguna Prabhu as told by his Sankirtan partner for 18 years. What amazed me most was how much spiritual progress Nirguna made in the last 6 weeks of his life. Again confirmed, this condensed course of Krishna consciousness. He revealed to Madhurya Leela that he had a vision of his role in the spiritual world. Hare Krishna. So here he is in his last 6 weeks. And Krishna had revealed who he was in the spiritual world. You know, obviously this is not common. Unless you come to the stage of bhava, you won't really know. You'll have some idea, you'll have an attraction for a certain relationship, certain rasa, but it won't be revealed exactly this is who you are until the stage of bhava, and it's been revealed to him. He wasn't quite sure of it, but he thought he was a manjari. One day, Hari Harisari was reading to Nirguna unpublished sections of his diary, and Nirguna said that he was waiting for an invitation to go back. I'm waiting for an invitation to go back. He wasn't quite clear, but he told Harisari that he had experienced some kind of dream or vision, and for the next several weeks they discussed. It became clear to Harisari that this was a very serious consideration for Nirguna. So he was, same thing now, they're getting ready to die and their consciousness it's no longer in this world. I mean, for some time it'll be in this world until they accept the fact that they're leaving and they advance to a certain stage. And now the consciousness is like, where am I going? So he's talking about invitation. What's the invitation? It's the invitation from Krishna to go back to Godhead. This understanding of your rasa, I think I'm a manjari. I think I'm an assistant of the gopis. That's what it seems like. This is not normal that devotees think this way. After Mangal Arti, I made an announcement that Nirguna had lost consciousness, and I asked the devotees to come and join the Kirtan. Radhanath Swami had been coaching me through the whole experience, and had told me that even if Nirguna was unconscious, it was very, very important that he hear the chanting of the holy name. So I made this point to the devotees, and before long there were about 80 devotees crammed into the tiny 16 by 20 foot classroom where Nirguna lay. First, Madan Mohan from Canada led the Kirtan. And then for 7 hours, Korma, the famous cook and Prabhupada disciple. It was so ecstatic. Bhakti Vishram Madhava Swami was sitting at Nirguna's head. I was next to Maharaj. Hari Sari was on the other side of the bed, and Janani Vas and Pankaj were also there. Then all of a sudden, Bhakti Vishram Maharaj Swami grabbed my thigh and said, "Janmashtami, look at Nirguna. His tongue is moving." And sure enough, I could see that Nirguna's mouth was beginning to move. He started singing along with the kirtan. This is like he's been unconscious prior to this. He started singing along with the kirtan. And then he opened his eyes, raised his arms up in the air, and he had this enormous transcendental smile on his face, and he was singing along with the kirtan. The doctor was completely bewildered. Nirguna is coming back like he defied everything. In other words, this defied everything that the doctor understood about dying. Is like, according to all the symptoms, he's leaving his body, and now he opens his eyes, and the doctor was totally bewildered. For 2 or 3 weeks, you had to put your ear right over his mouth to hear what he was saying. But there he was, singing in this tumultuous kirtan. In other words, I think he's saying, for the past 2 or 3 weeks, you could hardly hear him. He could hardly say anything. He was practically gone. And now he's singing the kirtan. Then Nirguna said, "Get your piece and go." Get your piece and go. Harisari said, What was that? Get your piece and go, Nirguna repeated in a loud voice. And then he asked, "Did someone say something?" In other words, did someone say something to you, Nirguna? Harisari asked. Nirguna replied, "Yes." Harisari, "Who?" Nirguna, "Giriraj." So Giriraj said, "Get your piece and go?" Harisari asked, and Nirguna said, "Yes." "What does he mean by your piece?" Harisari asked. Giriraj, Nirguna replied, "The Govardhan Shila he had on his chest." He had a Govardhan Shila on his chest. Then Harisari asked, "Did you get your invitation, Nirguna?" And Nirguna replied, "Yes," and smiled. He looked so blissful. I phoned Radhanath Swami, who was just about to leave for Mayapur for the big yatra. He spoke with Nirguna for maybe half an hour. Then over the phone with Nirguna, listening through an earpiece, he started singing bhajans, Maharaj singing bhajans to him. Shortly thereafter, so Nirguna got the invitation, and part of the invitation was take Giriraj take Giraj, let's go. We're ready. Shortly after, Nirguna lapsed into an apparently unconscious state. The kirtan kept going. The whole atmosphere was very inspiring, just surcharged with ecstasy. Then at 1:22 p.m., Nirguna passed on. And so listen to the ending. This is beautiful. One interesting thing was that after the caretakers had unclothed and bathed the body and put on a new set of clothes I had offered, and I had offered artik, we couldn't find that Srila. It was nowhere to be found. He had a Srila, but nobody knew what happened to the Srila. It was sitting on his chest the whole time, but now it was nowhere to be found. Take your piece and go. 4 or 5 days later, one devotee said, somehow or other, I have this Srila in my house. Does anyone know who it belongs to? She didn't know how she got it. It just appeared. Hare Krishna. It reappeared, but that was pretty amazing. Yeah, Hare Krishna. Nirguna's passing was such a special event, not only in this life, but in the lives of many devotees, including those who connected with him in Mayapur. And there can be no question in the mind of anyone who was there at the time of his departure. Prabhupada fulfilled his promise. Nirguna went back to the spiritual world. Listen to this last statement. This is beautiful, and this may be something you may want to consider as a service. If I had such an opportunity again to serve a devotee at the end of life and help him achieve life's ultimate goal, I would do it every day. It was the most amazing service, the most memorable experience of my life. Hare Krishna. That's the second story. Hare Krishna. So, okay, we're finished, everyone. I know you're stunned. You can't move your lips. You can't say anything. But I'll just sit here and see. If you have any comments or questions, or you just want to meditate on this, take this in. And I can put this article up, I can put this story up on the Google Drive if you like, and you can read it. But this story is in the book, Life's Final Lesson. It's a book on hospice. It was originally, it's not originally, it was intended for hospice care. But it has, so I'm going through the book now in the mornings before class to see what we can, what's in there. There should be a lot more jewels in there like this. Maybe we should have kirtan now. What do you think? It seems like maybe now's time for kirtan. I don't know what else to do. Should we have a little kirtan? I heard, Hoxha just says, every time a devotee goes back, it widens the path for all of us. Hoxha, is there a description of, I don't know her name, Balabhadra's wife's passing? That was an amazing, you told me a little bit. If you could send that to me, if there is such a thing. Devotees are saying they're feeling scared after hearing the first story. Wow. Nandini was serving, oh yeah, because Nirguna was in Atlanta. Scared? I don't understand. Yeah. To face the scared partway through the story, or scared through the whole story? Can someone explain? I think Vijay Lakshmi said you were scared. Why? There's a book called Simple for the Simple about her passing. Yeah. Okay. Radha wants to do kirtan. Stunned. Not scared, stunned. I think stunned is better, right? Stories on Hospice was called The Final Lesson. Written by a devotee. By Giriraj Swami. Yeah, it's called The Final Lesson. By Giriraj Swami and I think Sangeeta. Or maybe by Sangeeta and Giriraj Swami was helped her with it. final exam, I think it's called, life's final exam. Life's final lesson. Let me see. Life's final exam, I think it's called. Yeah. Stunned, not scared. Stunned. Yeah, is that right? Yeah. Scared through all the stories. Satyarupa, she sees an ant crawling on her toe, she'd be scared. So yeah. But Satyarupa, you shouldn't be scared anymore because you see the glorious departure. Let's do a little kirtan. What do you think? To end the class with kirtan, we can meditate on Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I heard that Prabhupada had played a church organ in the LA temple, so let's do it. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we will see you tomorrow at the same time, same place on Facebook. And tomorrow will be a surprise. I may find more stories to read. And anyway, we'll take it from here. I think this was very instructive. And I think the more we hear about the glorious passing of the devotees, the more confidence we'll have that Krishna is taking care of us in amazing ways. Maybe at Hoxaja, maybe you could, if there's a digital copy of that book, if you could maybe cut and paste a few excerpts we could read, that would be fantastic. Okay? Is that all right? Maybe we could chant in string of mantras because we have 5 minutes. We're in church, everyone. Now we're in a small chapel. Let's go to the big church. And the Shringadev is opulent. Namaste Narasimhaya La 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 Dadai Dhane Hiranya Kasipo Vakshaha Shilatanka Nakalai. You can sing with me. Tonishima Paratanisimo Yutoya Toyami Tato Nishinha Hirnisya Hridaye Nisimo Nishingamadim Sharanam Prapaje Tavakara Kamala Bari Nakam Avuta Singham Dalitari Ranyakashipu Tanubringham Keshavadrita Nara Harirupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. One more time. Tava Korra Kamala Pare Nakam Adbhuta Singham Dalita Iranya Kashipu Tanubringham Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Nishinadev Jaya Nishinadev Nishinadev Jaya Nishinadev Nishinadev Jayo Nishinadev Nishinadev Jai Nishinadev Bhakta Prahlad Jai Bhakta Prahlad Bhakta Prahlad Bhakta Prahlad Bhakta Prahlad Jai Bhakta Prahlad Bhakta Prahlad Jai Bhakta Prahlad Shri Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki jai, Bhakta Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Jai Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. Tomorrow, everyone, Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Go Premanandi.